Ladies and gentlemen, we are sitting down with a true titan of the interactive tech world. He architected a monumental scaling operation, saw the company skyrocket from $6 million boutique operation to a $100 million global empire, expanding its footprint across 4 continents. He's a rare breed of executive, one who can navigate a boardroom and high-stake VC negotiations just as easily as he can dive into thousands of lines of code to rescue a failing project. His peers have taken notice. He's the recipient of the 2012 Why Not Award, the 2025 AVN Award for Best Manufacturing, and most recently, he was crowned the 2026 XB's Most Innovative Executives of the Year.
With AI, the action figure can actually talk or have a personality or interact or play a game with you. But when you start seeing Reddit users, dedicated customers that have bought several times from us, being frustrated with not getting answers, like, where's my package? Did it ship? Some people may have already known it was AI, but some people maybe didn't know. So then we thought, oh shoot, let's give her an Instagram, let's give her a Facebook, let's give her a presence. Because obviously people want to know more about NOEM. The biggest change for the CSRs was they're used to being evaluated on how many issues they process, and now it's more.
Let's start with just talking about your company. It's a $100 million a year e-commerce store, international. You've been running it for 15 years now?
20
years now. So let's talk just a little bit about what you guys do.
It's a 20-year-old company, invented back in 1997, I would say is when the first website went live. And it was based solely in the United States for a while. And the departments that it had were a manufacturing department, an e-commerce department, and customer service. It grew to be manufactured in Canada, Australia, and in Europe, in Spain, in Sevilla. And that was based upon just the increase in volume, the increased demand. And from there, we started to have international needs, translations, localization, knowledge about taxes and currency exchange. We went from a single bank account to a bank in every single region. So there's a lot of growth there in terms what we had to become from just a mom and pop shop that was based in Las Vegas at the beginning.
So before automating, you were describing a tipping point where human agents cannot cover 24/7 across the globe in all languages, all your clients and all the customers.
Yeah, people order when you're global, every minute is daytime or every minute is prime shopping time. And with a website, obviously it's 24/7 anyway. So there's a customer service Q&A in all those regions. And we did try to do human agents 24/7. We had people coming in on Saturday. We found that we had to base it out of the United States. The headquarters is here in the US, and that's where the knowledge base has always stemmed from. Anything new, anything coming off the factory floor that was unique was going to be able to be addressed by those people just because they're here and they would have the knowledge through osmosis. But it didn't change the fact that we weren't bilingual. And also when we tried to do agents in other countries in Europe, there just wasn't the knowledge base sync, or to make that happen required a lot of effort. Like you had to have meetings almost every other day, similar to what we do on the warehouse floor where we have this huddle and then people go out and do their thing. But it just became a huge task and we couldn't do it. And at the rate of what you want to pay a customer service agent, it's hard to maintain those folks. So you're constantly having to retrain the new folks to come in. In an earlier part of my life, I worked for a call center, and the churn there, the attrition is a lot. So they are constantly training. So it just got to the point where that wasn't really what we were focused on. We were focused on new development, but all of a sudden we start having a problem because now we don't have customer service, or it's only Central Time United States, and we only had a few agents. So at that point where we started getting, the tipping point would be bad feedback online. Not on our site, that was more hidden, but when you start seeing Reddit users, dedicated customers that have bought several times from us, being frustrated with not getting answers, not getting responses to simple things like, where's my package? Did it ship? That kind of stuff. That's when we knew we had to do something about it.
So you mentioned bilingual. You said English and Spanish mostly here, but you are international across the board. How did that affect it? So I remember 10 years ago, started translating only the websites to different languages. Is that how it started, with like website translation?
That's how it started with localization and website translation. That was the first thing. There's some legal requirements, like in Canada, the shipping labels have to be both in French and in English. So while the US might be mostly Spanish and English, Canada for sure is English and French. But really, Spanish is the entire side of this planet with all of the Latin American interests and potential customers. And then that's different than European Spanish or European French. And when we first started going international, it was Europe. And we actually had, that was before Canada even. And so we knew we had to translate. And with that, so we did start with the website, but we still didn't have translated customer service. So great, I can read it in German, and then I go and try to speak German when I send a CSR email. What now? So then things changed. Google Translation came out. So our English speaking customer service reps would stick it into Google Translate and it would give back a pretty good translation. They can help the person. It's not real time, it's not chat, you can't take a call. So those things were still elements that were lacking in our services.
So you also talked about US being the base, mostly central time, customer service. Do you have the Monday morning pile up where they're coming back from the weekend, or did they work over the weekend and
There's a Monday morning pileup to all things. We basically stop production on Thursdays. And so we take orders, again, e-commerce site, so 24/7. And our particular product is very popular on the weekends when people can relax and order it. And so Monday morning's a huge day. And that pileup probably lasts in terms of shipments all the way through Wednesday. So people will order on Sunday knowing that it's going to take 1 to 2 business days and so to deliver within the States. And you see a lot of orders come through from Sunday with the intent that they want their order to go out Monday morning. So that yields a lot of calls. Is it going to go out Monday morning? Can I be sure it's going to go out Monday morning? Can I really expect this? And some people really just want to be there to receive their packages. What would you call it? Porch pirates. Porch pirates. I mean, there's
yeah,
tons of
yeah.
YouTubes or people, they don't even know what's in the box. They're just going to take it. So this is a concern for anybody receiving a package. Amazon and UPS do their best to put things behind pillars and follow the instructions, but still. So I see those questions come through. I've heard those calls come through. So there's a lot of, I want to be there to receive the package. And did it go out? So there's just a ton of that, ton of those kinds of questions.
So in terms of operation for the business itself, what's the cost of training someone and retraining and shadowing them and the time that goes into that and the churn that you were talking about? What's the effect of that on the business?
First of all, somebody who's just coming in is really not effective on their own for at least 3 weeks. So they have to shadow with an experienced CSR for 3 weeks. That's about, in my experience, how long training was at other places I've worked back in the day. So about 3 weeks of training, 1.5 of that weeks is probably shadowing and then and then you get evaluated. So if the person doesn't cut mustard, you just wasted that first 2 weeks. But let's say they do. There's still a lot of Q&A going back and forth. They're still not really up to speed, I would say, until about 90 days in. There's so much to learn to be effective and on your feet and have all this product knowledge quickly accessible. So really after 90 days, and that's when we evaluate whether or not you're going to go permanent. And so it's a 90-day investment in time and in money and salary. CSRs aren't the highest paid position in our company, but they're also not the lowest paid. So a warehouse worker, they'll be somewhere close to 60K. So you can assume that a new CSR is going to be getting paid at least that while they're going through training and while we're evaluating them. And that doesn't count the additional man hours spent by an experienced CSR that has to kind of work as the on-the-floor trainer, if you will.
What about the knowledge transfer? Because if there's a lot of churn and people come and go and things change so much because you guys produce new products every month, right? There's
Pretty
something
much
new.
so far, yeah.
Yeah, so every month there's something new and things are changing very quickly, and you are international with hundreds of thousands of clients. What happens to the knowledge transfer between people?
First of all, most people don't like to read. So even if there was a wiki for our business, which there is, but I wouldn't say that it's the best. But even if there was, you're talking about something that has to span the entire time the business has been out, because people still come across articles written about products that we did make but don't make anymore, but we have something similar. And so having the knowledge to go like, that widget we don't sell anymore, however this one is actually improvement on that one, and blah 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 blah. So that's I don't know, that could be 6 months, because you're either going to read something this thick and then commit it, right? Or you have to encounter it over the course of time. So so the transfer of general knowledge, I think, is fast. Here's how you look up an order status. Here's how you do a return. Here's all that basic stuff that every business does. But in terms of being that true sales shopping assistant, knowledge-based part, that takes a lot longer.
And you guys are coming up with product that like even current. I remember asking questions about, hey, so what happens if you combine this package with this intern? And people are like, I don't know, I've never tried it before. That sounds like something that someone with 20 years experience will know.
Yes.
How does that affect customer service and development?
Writing products together or asking if we can make something because we are our own manufacturer, that kind of stuff is great because it can actually give us an insight into what we should do next. Oh, that's been requested. None of us thought about it, but look, we've got 10 people who asked the question. We can make that. Or we can look at things that are current in pop culture, movies that are coming out, music that's coming out, an event that just happened. And a lot of people will say, oh, you should make one like the little pop characters that you see in stores. Well, every movie that comes out, you have these little characters represented. Our products are similar to that, but we usually wait for people to ask. So right now, CSRs have to tally that up themselves, keep their own list, if you will. And if they have the intuition to bring it up to marketing, they might, but they also might not. I think that what people are talking about, we're relying on external sources versus our CSR interaction, just because you can quickly read what Reddit users are saying. But the most valuable is what our users are saying. And there's a disconnect there for sure.
20-year-old company, multi-million-dollar a year, popular product all over the world, customers and clients and employees and all that stuff. And we need to solve the problem of customer support and languages and 24/7 and the knowledge gaps and the churn. So you were shopping around for other systems before you started working with NOEM. So can you tell me what were you shopping for and what did you find in NOEM that was like, okay, let's do that?
First of all, we were thinking along the lines of a better knowledge base. How can we get this information to the CSRs? What kind of questions can they ask to be able to get data? So we initially were looking at like ChatGPT, but that didn't really work for us because ChatGPT just didn't know enough about our products. And so it couldn't convey that information back. But that sparked the idea of looking at some kind of LLM or some kind of AI-based solution. I think we learned real quickly we're not making a wiki. Wiki's not going to be good enough because you don't necessarily, you have to really know what you're looking for to get to what you want. And if you ask it in the wrong way or you do the wrong search or don't use the right term, you're going to end up someplace else. And versus an AI-based system where it's, let me try to infer what you meant and give you back something. We see a typical response, did you mean? And you can say yes or no and help it drill down much faster than just not knowing the word. Like, what's the word? And then you spend too much human brain time on that. So I think we learned really quickly that we're not going to make an internal wiki and we can't use over-the-counter AI solution. So we had to find some kind of internal AI solution. So then being a programmer, I'm like, cool, how do you build that? And I was like, okay, I don't have time to do that. So that's what sparked it. Like maybe there's some partners out there that are already doing this for customers or their clients and they're good at it and they can just help us quickly implement. And whatever price they're going to charge is going to be way less than me taking a break from product development or other bigger things and just focusing on CSR stuff. So that's how we met NOEM.Ai.
Were you ever skeptical about the ability of AI to give the right suggestions or the nuances, not hallucinating, not giving bad advice?
I wasn't skeptical. I was interested. I think, well, I've been playing with AI since the first ChatGPT, Mid-Journey, when you ask for a human being, they end up with 20,000 fingers, that kind of stuff, and seeing where it is now. So I've seen a lot of advances, especially in image generation, that have been really impressive. I've been able to use them in real life situations. So I was pretty certain that it would be able to do it. I was interested to see how, like I said, anything external doesn't know the internals, like where's my order kind of stuff, or what two things relate together in our company's paradigm. So I was interested to see that get built out, and it did, to the point where it got so intuitive, we still don't know how it knew to suggest certain product lines, but it did, and it was doing it right. And so cool/scary, but it was a very nice side effect of what AI is capable of doing. And the fact that it was able to do it very quickly. In this case, we're asking for a particular flavor of something, and it gave our top products, but then also all these other ones that are like user generated information. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Like you knew that was strawberry. Even though I didn't tell you it was strawberry, somehow the AI knew and suggested appropriately. So I thought that was something that it would be really hard. It would be impossible for a human because they don't have anything to search on specifically to come up with those results. So there's some good stuff. And then of course it was doing the heavy lifting. Where's my order? Where's my order? Where's my order? When will it be here? When will it be here? When will it be here? So that just taking that load off, it was good. Where's my order? Here's the tracking number. Paste that in, then you can go to the shipper and get the details. So those features are great. So you talked about the Monday morning chunk of work. Now it was able to answer those all the time. Now, it doesn't change the fact that packages don't move on the weekend, but on Monday morning, all those questions get fielded by a system that can start as early as somebody wants to ask it and start returning those versus a human being literally going over and over looking at UPS to give the same answer.
Let's talk about the nuances of the AI. One of the things you're getting from NOEM is the customer insights. And you started getting the reports and seeing actually what your customers are doing. And you're one of the few of our clients that actually take that and innovate, rapid innovation. And one of the rapid innovations that you do, you are tapping into the AI influencer market. And you started with that. So let's talk a little bit about that, because you are having the same personality with different sides of her, interacting with your clients on different platforms and bringing them into your ecosystem and using it to reduce churn. And all of this is done with AI because you're innovating. So let's talk a little bit about rapid innovation, the customer insights that actually brought this idea to you. How did you come up with that?
The customer insights, there's a repository for their questions. Then that directly translates into what banner should be on the homepage or what direction a product line should go in. And then that directly translates into the next meeting of what are we going to make next? And because we've created a system that allows us to make things very quickly, now we can respond quickly. 10 years ago, you can have all the insights in the world. You still had to make a decision that might take 6 months to become a reality, which is great because at least you're still being steered by potential buyers. And the way it is now, though, with the increased capabilities and decreased time it takes to bring a product to market, those insights turn into products. They turn into reworking a web page, the homepage, the product page, all that stuff gets affected by what a customer says. I couldn't find blah, blah, blah. Oh, 20 people said that? Let's remove that. And so it basically allows us to be hypersensitive to the most important issues.
And so you took that and moved into, okay, how do I reduce churn with the use of AI? You're using AI to reduce churn of the monthly membership product that you have.
Well, first and foremost, human beings, I guess a lot of men are lonely. And so people will get on a phone call and I think it's common, right? If you go to a bakery all the time, you'll meet the baker. At some point, you're not just buying croissants, but you're like, how are your kids? How's your grandma? You start to get into this conversation.
Where everybody knows your name.
Everybody knows your name. Cheers, right? So
yeah.
The same thing we noticed the same thing happening with interacting with the AI chatbot. Like it wasn't just, where's my orders? Hey, how are you today? And I don't know if some people may have already known it was AI, but some people maybe didn't know. So the first thing we did was we took and put a face on the chatbot, just a headshot, like a CSR headshot. And that was great. People responded well to that. There's stuff on Reddit about, and they referred to the chatbot by name. Oh, Noah was so helpful. Was she? That's great. That's good to know. And so some of that conversation got like I just talked about with the baker. How are your kids? What are you doing this weekend? And blah, blah, blah. So then we thought, oh, shoot, let's give her an Instagram. Let's give her a Facebook. Let's give her a presence. Because obviously people want to know more about Noah. They want to, not just about product stuff, but hey, she works out. Oh, I see she gets coffee. What kind of coffee do you like? Oh, she was born in Israel, moved to Austin 10 years ago. So that's all that stuff. It became very engaging, and there's a lot of customers that are on the Instagram just asking questions and what are you doing this weekend? And really, me and my girls are going to go skiing. You should come. Can't do that, at least not in terms of that. I can pretend to ski, but we have an AI partner that focuses on image and video generation. And so it's even become more engaging because Noah went to the Renaissance Festival. So then it shows her playing that hammer game where you try to hit it and make the thing ring the bell. And so human beings are loving interacting with a fleshed out AI that has a social presence that they can consume. So I think we're moving more and more toward the movie Her paradigm where someone can actually have a real relationship, a friendship with a non-human or a digital entity.
And then moving more and more towards the digital entities increases customer retention, satisfaction, which means they stick around longer, they purchase more, they talk about you more.
Yeah, it's the thing that you mentioned is it's kind of like a monthly action figure, right? So if you think toys, okay, each month we're going to give you a new action figure. That's cool. But now with AI, the action figure can actually talk or have a personality or interact or play a game with you or challenge you to something like a trivia, something that can do all these things, which makes people log on more, spend more time online in a separate section that we have for gamification for all our game stuff and just like live there. One of the things I noticed is to play World of Warcraft, and I would notice that there are people that would log in and just socialize inside major towns or the major gathering areas. Now, those are all other human beings, but that was before LLMs came out. Now, I've seen some stuff in an NVIDIA announcement where they had a game, a guy walks in, he's interacting with a sushi chef, and it would respond. It wasn't just like that kind of pre-recorded, hi, back to work, hi.
It's not an NPC.
It's not an NPC. I mean, it is an NPC, but it's an
Yeah, but
NPC
like a
times
smart NPC.
100.
Yeah.
It's a non-player character, but with character. So the more time that we can have people engaged on our site and one of our digital properties or platforms, that's a better chance for us to make an additional sale. It's gotten to the point now, I think over the last week, I just saw a couple of customers wanted to gift Noah with something. So that means they're willing to spend money to give her something that she have an Amazon wish list. Like she will now. She needs some braided HDMI cables, 16 feet long.
Dude, that's super cool. It's really cool. What we've created is not regurgitating predefined blocks of hello user, here's my like an NPC. We haven't created an NPC, but you actually have a CR AI that takes off of your existing human team. And you haven't replaced your team. You just freed their time to do other things. So what did you find that now they're doing more or less of since the AI is taking
When people are upset and when they've had a bad experience, AI can get really frustrating because it can only do so much. In the future, this will change, obviously, but at this point, it requires intuition to be able to steer a conversation to save a relationship with a disgruntled customer. So I think whenever it's like, hey, I need to talk to a human, they really need to talk to a human. And what's nice about that is that, okay, so now that human being doesn't have 300, where's my orders? And then the most important one, which is the, I need to talk to a human, is underneath those. And so that person's waiting longer, which is only adding fuel to their fire. We want to extinguish that fire. So in that regard, no, we haven't replaced humans. We've been able to better target them where humans are really needed. And what does that mean in terms of workload? Some people are like, oh, yeah, but if they were doing the 300 things, so now what? Now they can spend more time with that person. They can handhold that relationship all the way through, really change that from a 1-star to a 5-star, and which is something that the AI can't do. It can give you facts. When I need some emotional stuff, that's where the humans come in. And then when there's something complicated. So you may have a potential business partner come through and no, I can't make those decisions or tell that person what they can and can't do outside of order-based or product searching-based responses. So a store wants to carry our product, they need a human. And so so you get the higher level stuff and not all the low level
the copy-paste ones.
Copy-paste ones. Or even the new stuff. What should I buy? Okay, that's got a script to it. That's the same. It's a wash, rinse, and repeat. And AI is really good at that.
So let's talk about the tech stack. You're a Shopify store, big e-commerce Shopify store with hundreds, thousands of products?
Yeah, over 1,000 products.
Yeah, 1,000 products. You're working with Zendesk. How seamless, how difficult was the integration between NOEM and your existing tech stack?
There's an app for Shopify, so that was really easy. I think most of the integration was us deciding what we wanted to do. Do we want the pop-up? Do we not want the pop-up? Do we want a little face? Do we not want a little face? So it was more us getting, the good thing about it is that we're able to turn it on and immediately start looking at it. And there wasn't like 6 weeks of build and then, oh, crud, we went the wrong direction. Zendesk is a plugin for that. So basically on the back end, you just put your API keys and things connect and you're off to the races. So there's more training, but really the training, as we just talked about a second ago, is, hey, you don't need to do these. Now focus on that. Take your time. Don't rush it. You've got time to do these things. I think that the biggest change for the CSRs, I know I'm going back to the previous question, but was they're used to being evaluated on how many issues they process. And now it's more how well did you process them? Were you able to make lemonade out of lemons? That kind of thing.
That's really interesting because now you're moving them from kind of like regurgitating, if you consider like a classroom, rather than regurgitating what the teacher said, now it's application. How did you apply it?
Application.
Right?
Yep,
Problem
100%.
solving
Yep.
thing. So was that a hard transition? Like, how did they take it?
I think it was hard just to get their head around the paradigm of I'm not numbers based, I'm quality based. But I think once that happened, I think we're still working on, what does a monthly evaluation or a quarterly evaluation look like? And I think for us, it means we have to do some more on evaluating how they handle those situations and providing that higher level of training. But that's okay because the volume is less. We're able to spend the time.
That's really interesting because that's also a different type of person. That one that just like copy paste, here's the macro, I put it there, to a problem solver or customer focused. Did you find that the existing CSRs that you have, it's easy for them to transition from the copy paste macros to problem solving, customer success focused, or?
For some of them it is, for some of them it's not. Some people are very good at churning through something. They get into a muscle memory. I already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in, but it's expected. One of the documentaries I love is about the evolution of Industrial Light and Magic, so George Lucas company, and everything before was stop motion animation. Move it a little bit, take a picture, move it. Everyone knows about that. And then when Jurassic Park came out, they had come up with this CG-based, very realistic way of showing animals walk around. And they have people that just couldn't transition. We've experienced this a few times in the product development side at our company. People going from working with clay, and that's how they work. They're like, I need you to do this digitally in ZBrush, and they just couldn't wrap their head around ZBrush. So most of our CSRs have not had that problem, and most of them are happy to move up into this new world. But still, it's like you still have people like, yeah, but I did 500 of these. It's like, I don't even want you to do 500 of those because those are sales. They've already happened. They can be made happy with just being told where their package is. What I want you to do is handle these guys that have had a legitimate bad experience because of whatever and make it right. And if that means sending something free, giving them a coupon, smoothing out the fact that their product came damaged, that's where you need to live. And I think that the more we go along, the happier they are every day. I turned frowns upside down today. That was good.
Since you're international, it was very interesting to see that Europe has a lot more interactions than the US, which is something that's very surprising. Do you find the same thing happening with your European CSRs or the team over there?
So the Europeans, and like I said earlier, those teams came and went. So really, everything was being happened in the U.S. The fact that AI can speak all these languages definitely helps a ton, because then people can express themselves in their language. I'm actually surprised about how much interaction is going on in Europe, just because our B2B business is bigger there because stores are more prevalent. So whereas here, everyone orders online. Swipe the card, get it delivered. Swipe the card, get it delivered. And in Spain, not just Spain, but all over Europe, I'm gonna go out to the store and buy it and take it home today. Everybody wants the product same day, but we're just so lazy. I'll wait my 3 or 4 days versus Europeans. I'm like, oh, it's 3 blocks and around the corner. I'll go pick it up. So it's interesting that they're interacting so much, just because it's been a very quiet side of the world for us, just because of language barriers, time differences, and what have you. I don't know. It's interesting because again, we would love to grow the direct to consumer business, and I think that this may help facilitate that because they're able to get some answers right away. If I don't speak a language, if I see a website come up in Chinese and I really want the product, I'm still wary because I'm like, ooh, you know what? I know this is the checkout page. I could guess where first name, last name goes, but and even with Google Translate, I'm like, versus, oh, I can hop online and just be like, hey, it's much better. So
How
I think it's going to
flexible?
help.
It'll be very interesting, especially since moving them from like social media is the same for everything, and they can chat with her in their language on Instagram and then move to the membership side and still interact with her in their language. So that's going to be super interesting. In terms of ROI and sales, do you see any effect of just because customers can find things in their language or because they interact better? Do you see any changes?
In terms of ROI, so first of all, I know for this increased world where people are buying things online, like every other Instagram thing on your feed has a shop now button on it. And I've had some bad experiences. And because these are manufacturers from overseas in Asia, they've done some tricky stuff with AI to make their products look better than they actually look when you actually receive them. And you can't talk to anybody. So I think just the customer experience is going to be great. We have a lot of repeat customers, and I think just having a robust customer service experience, an engaging one, and always available one, just makes people more apt and more prone to buy again. Just, oh, there was an issue, but they took care of it. Or I didn't have to wait 5 seconds to find out that my package shipped or didn't ship or whatever. So the big focus for us is how do we feed more data? How do we let it know? We've got some make to order products. It's, hey, how do we let the guy know where it is in that process? Almost like you see with pizza places. Oh, it's in the oven. It's done baking. It's out the door. That kind of stuff. That'd be really lovely because on that side of the coin, we get a lot of questions like, so when? It's like, well, there's 50 things that go into the first one. So it would be nice to be able to communicate that stuff back.
So let's talk just a little bit about what it's like to work with the NOEM team. You don't have any binding contracts. You said the development didn't take 6 months to happen. What was your experience working with us versus working with any other vendors?
If we just say in general, any vendor that has a product that they know, that they understand, that they're experts in, and can just deliver it is a benefit. I work with both. I work with service providers, and you hope that things are. And so NOEM's a service provider, but it's already there. It's here you go. So the nature of the product is that you can see it work immediately. And the team has experience. They're experts with the product. They're not just reselling something else. So when something needs to be changed or modified to fit our needs, it's been very quick. They spend a lot of time making sure it's right. Obviously, they could just churn and burn this. You could change it to like click here to download. And best of luck to you. That's not the way it is. The GNOME team holds your hand. Not that you need much hand holding with the tech, but just in terms of implementing and like the gap of knowledge that usually exists for most companies implementing this stuff. Like, I know AI, I heard the education person talk about A1, so I know how to do it. But in terms of actually implementing it, right, actual implementation, that's very easy, very quick. No hidden fees, no strange, oh, this actually took 2 more hours than I said it's going to be. Here's a line item in your invoice that you weren't expecting. No, it just works. The product works. You and Daniel are very knowledgeable. There's not really been a question you can't answer, except that other one is, how did it know? In that case, it benefited us, but I'm just worried about the other thing, what that might imply for other areas of AI interaction. But yeah, I just think that you guys are great salespeople, but you're also tech. So you know what you're talking about. And I think that in some companies, blah, 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 with the salesperson says, okay, let me get my CTO, let me get my devs to answer that. So you can't finish the conversation. One meeting with NOEM's team, you can have the whole conversation, marketing, sales, implementation, tech, future. It's all in one conversation because the team is knowledgeable. So yeah. To me, that's the most important. I don't even have that much time. So getting it all done in one sitting is important because after we leave, you may not see me again for 3 weeks.
So what advice would you give a Shopify store owner or a business at your size? You're multi-million-dollar, international, hundreds of thousands of customers. You're running, 5,000 conversations a day across the globe, which is huge. So someone at your level or someone who is a 7-figure Shopify store like yourselves, what advice would you tell them if they're afraid of using chatbots in their business, afraid of it alienating their customers, afraid of any hallucinations or mishaps?
So first of all, it's a 9-figure store.
I don't know many 9 figures. I was like, okay, let's go with the 7.
Everybody likes to lean on their COVID numbers. So I think we hit 100 million, over 100 million during COVID. That's not real numbers. But yeah, but definitely a 8-figure store. I think it can't do anything but benefit. You can try it alongside your existing team. That's first of all. So you don't have to like, I don't want to tear down what I've built with the CSR team. And then what if it doesn't work? So you don't have to be worried about that. You're not destroying something to try out the other. And you can fully try it out without interfering with what you're doing with your human-based customer service teams. So I think the advice I would give is to give it a try. It's really risk-free. Honestly, like from a tech investment, from a time investment, from a potential detrimental implementation, you just don't have those problems. Like when we went to Shopify, that was like, if this doesn't work, we have a big problem. And so we had to run in tandem because there's a whole bunch of issue. GNOME's not like that. So you can implement it. There's nothing to fear. Go ahead and check it out. And I think that it's going to be a positive for any size business, to be honest with you. And the pricing is nice. It's based upon your usage. It should reflect the size of your business accurately.
So in terms of like actually scaling without adding fat, without the churn, without hiring more CSR, can you talk a little bit about that angle of?
Yeah, you guys have us on I'm going to say a point system. Like we use up points or credits. So when you find you're using up more credits and you look at what you're using them on, you're like, oh, okay, people wanted to know. That's a lot easier. And adding more credits, if we want to pretend like that's adding a new CSR, it's much easier because the new credits already know what no one knows, versus the thing we talked about earlier where the 6 months of training and build up. It's very scalable. If we have some new items coming out that are electronic, they're probably going to have some new questions that are totally different. We make sure NOEM.Ai knows it so that you'll be able to answer most of those questions. And it's just, for us, we just have to make sure that we let NOEM know before we do stuff. And that way the questions can be answered. I think that's a learning curve for the human side. Hey, R2D2 and C3PO can't do what they don't know. Yeah.
Was there anything like super surprising that came out when, as you saw the interactions with Noah?
I told you before, suggesting the product suggestions were really beyond the intelligence that we thought we had. I was surprised to see people chit-chatting. I was surprised. I am still surprised to see people, because people who know that Noah's AI, and they still chit-chat and they still go follow it on Instagram. I'm just like, okay, so that's fine. To me, all that just gives me like, okay, well, I already know where the products, next thing that I should make as a product needs to implement these things. So that's good knowledge. But yeah, that was the most surprising.
It really is fascinating, right? Because when you think of like where the world is going, and there's these two paths where there's like the AI influencers and AI is becoming more and more human, it's hard to distinguish, which makes some people just gonna be like shunning all of this, and I want to be more human in person and just know what it's real. And then you have the other side of, no, I love this because this is exactly the conversation that I want to have. It's kind of where the world is going, and you're at the forefront of implementing it across everything, like in the AI influencer, in your support, in your sales.
We've been dreaming about this, 40s and 50s sci-fi, through Star Wars, through Star Trek, through God, any sci-fi that has a robot. That robot was human-like interaction. Even when it didn't speak English, like R2D2 just beeps and whirs, but whatever that language is, humans understand it and the droid understands. And there's scenes where it's just Mark Hamill and R2D2, and they're having this whole interaction, and it's his companion.
Yeah, the companion one. Fascinating.
I think one of the fascinating things, just the last point in that, is that as we feed AI human data or teach how to do things that we're doing, it'll outlive us. I look at Superman. He goes to his Fortress of Solitude and he speaks to his parents, but he's not speaking to his parents. He's speaking to an AI representing his parents who died thousands of years ago while he was in suspended animation coming to Earth. And I think that just seeing people want this human level or esque interaction with what they know to be a non-human entity is very interesting. But it's obviously something we've been dreaming about because we've been making our fiction based on that.
Thank you for the time and being at the forefront and being so innovative with what we're doing, because the more innovative you are, the more you're pushing the envelope for us, and then we get to play a little bit more. So yeah, so thanks for that.